one of the things that I think most people are missing is a very good relationship with not only their financial advisor, but with their CPA. Nathan, how are you?
I'm doing great, man. How are
Feels
you?
like I haven't talked to you forever. And it's like, been what, 3 days?
Yeah, we talk occasionally, right? I just had you on the podcast talking about great things, how to prepare for 2025 and wrap up 2024 financially. But you know me, I love talking financials with you.
You really do. You're probably one of the few PTs I've ever met that's just like this nerds out on the finance stuff. So
Right,
I'm excited that we're going to do this together. So and we're just gonna, this is our first, we call PT Financial Summit, and I think that it is something that we can want to continue to do, just because it's been a very weird year that I've seen for a lot of PT owners, where I think their business has been growing, but I still am seeing struggles on the finance lines. I'm seeing
right,
struggles on money coming in. I'm seeing struggles on controlling money. And we're just like, okay, we got to make sure going into 2025 that, PTs aren't, or have a plan or doing something so that they can have a lot more success with money. So that's
right.
really where this came from.
They've had a lot of struggles this year. No, Change Healthcare is a third party that disrupted a lot of payments. So reimbursement was
That's
tough
right.
earlier in this year.
Yep.
And then the inflationary pressures, you can't discount that. Salaries are going up while everything, while reimbursements are declining.
Yes.
So it's becoming more and more difficult, thus the need for more and more of this content to educate owners on what to do and how to prepare financially.
I love it. So for those of you guys that don't know me, my name is Eric Miller. I'm the chief advisor and co-owner of Econologics Financial Advisors. We are a registered investment advisor that caters only to healthcare owners. So we don't work with anyone else besides healthcare owners. And we learned pretty early on that if we were going to be good at giving financial advice, we had to know something about your industry and your business. So that's why we focus in on healthcare practitioners. And then Nathan Shields obviously is one of the owners of the PPO Club. You probably have a long list of things that you've accomplished, but just give a brief introduction of what you're doing right now, Nate.
Yeah. Nathan Shields of PPO Club, founder, co-owner of the Private Practice Owners Club podcast and coaching services. So, being a physical therapist myself, PT owner for a number of years, sold my practices 6 years ago, decided to turn around and share some of the wisdom that I gained over the years. Plus, I have a great network of successful physical therapy owners, frankly, and influencers in the industry like yourself that I can connect with and put you in front of an audience to show these independent practice owners, look, here are the resources. These are the people that have been there, done that, and do that through the podcast for a
Mhm.
benefit to those owners. But I also do some coaching. I've started a coaching business, and as you listen to the podcast, you'll hear my partner Adam Robin, who is also a physical therapy clinic owner in Mississippi of multiple clinics, and together our focus is to provide as much support as we can to these independent practice owners so that they can live the life they want to have, so they can achieve their dreams and they can be successful and grow and expand, and we're there every step of the way.
Yeah, definitely. If you haven't, because that your PPO club has definitely grown. I know, really, in the last year, tremendously from what I've seen.
Yep.
And you guys put on an event every single year, which was really, really awesome. So
Right.
make sure you guys, give a shout out to go to you have a Facebook group that you guys, if you're a PT owner, you can join.
Yeah, if you want to really connect and see exactly what we're doing or a lot of what we're doing, it's on our Facebook group, Private Practice Owners Club. The website also has each podcast episode and also can put you in connection with us and tells you a little bit more about what we're doing and who we are and also the other coaches that are involved.
Excellent. Well, let me just tell everyone what we're going to be going over in today's PT Summit, which is probably going to last about, I don't know, it's probably going to be about 70, 80 minutes, somewhere around there. First off, I'm going to go over what what we really like to talk about, which are the strategies that you're going to need to build personal wealth and obviously make sure that you guys are on track for retirement. Nate's going to go into 5 things that he learned along the way. There's probably more than 5, but we're going to try to restrict it to 5 things he's learned along the way. After that, then we're going to start bringing on what we call our financial dream team. And, look, nobody is going to go at this alone, and it'd be foolish if you're going to try to. You need to have a team, a very solid financial team around you that is competent, that knows your industry, and most importantly, knows exactly the direction that you want to go with your life. And you have to build a team around there. So, from a financial perspective, one of the things that I think most people are missing is a very good relationship with not only their financial advisor, but with their CPA. I know a lot of people have CPAs. I know a lot of people, work with CPAs, but there's a difference between having a CPA that's doing your books and really having a relationship with a CPA that is helping you understand your finances, is strategizing with you, not only, tax strategies, but things that you're trying to do with your business to grow and expand. And you need someone that can do that. And I'm very happy that we're going to bring on a CPA, Mark Martigovich. He is the president and owner of Business Advisory, and we've seen a lot of success with him working with private practice owners and a lot of other business owners. So he's going to really talk about what the relationship should look like with your CPA. And then, of course, we got to have them give a couple tax strategies because it's the end of the year and everybody loves tax strategies. That's for sure.
Yes.
And then I'm going to bring on Josh Abrahamson, who is one of my financial advisors. He's going to, talk about some successful and unsuccessful things that people do with their money and their investments. Because of course we see we see the good, the bad, and the ugly of what happens when people try to invest their money. And then he's going to give you some success factors that we've seen amongst our best owners. And then we're going to bring on Daniel Stewart. We got a big show. Daniel Stewart of Athelis. And he is the head of partnerships at Athelis. And Athelis seems to be taking the PT world by storm a little bit in terms of what they're doing right now in the billing, what they're doing in the technology department, and making it easier for owners for record keeping and providers for record keeping, and just implementing AI technology so that people can get some of the things that you hear as an owner. I'm sure you heard from your providers complaining about, like, this, I don't like doing this, don't like doing this. And, okay, so how can we help with that? And I think Athelis is, like I've said, they've really come on the scene and just are, really saturating the market, which is good because I think what they do is important from a billing and a record keeping standpoint. What do you think about that?
Oh yeah, they're great. Athelis was a sponsor of ours at the conference, and getting to know them a little bit more. And actually, Adam Robin, my partner, has worked with them as well. Can't say enough about them because I really welcome their coming into our space. They've worked in other healthcare spaces before, but physical therapy needs some disruption. We need to be shoved into 2025. A lot of us are still living in 2015 and 2010. So we need a company like Athelis to show us the way, to guide us a little bit more, and introduce a better way of doing things. They are preeminent when it comes to leveraging AI technology in your revenue cycle management / billing and collections.
I'd probably go a step further in saying that if you do not adopt some of these things over the next 2 years, you are going to be rolled over by some
Yeah.
point, because not only your competitors, but the insurance companies are going to be
Yep.
utilizing this technology to do what they seem to do that frustrates so many PT owners. So
Well,
you're gonna have to fight fire with fire when you're doing this.
of course, we don't want to get tangential here, but I just saw an article yesterday that United Healthcare was found to leverage AI to
Mhm.
deny 90% of claims right off the top.
Yep. I mean, it's a real thing. So if these insurance companies are using it, you're gonna have to utilize it and integrate it into your practice so that you guys can make sure that you get paid. Part of the cycle of running a business is money coming in the door. And if money's not coming in, then you're going to have a tough time doing anything else. So we got to get the money in the door. And I think he's going to give you guys some, some descriptions and a good story behind, looking at Athelos for helping you out. So I'm going to start with, I think that's the agenda right there. I'm going to start with what I'm going to go over today. And I know that there's a lot of things going on in the outside economy right now. And I always try to be sensitive to the fact, because you had mentioned a couple of these things, reimbursements and inflation and all these things that seemingly we don't have much control over, which is true. But my experience in working with PT owners, in looking at their finances, and really kind of digging down into why it is that you are not solvent, why it is that you're not able to pay yourself what you should be paying yourself, why is it that you don't have a ton of money to invest and create other income sources. It has more to do with internal systems than anything else. And it is an inside job to this degree. And I think if you can solve this problem, if you can solve the problem of having a good internal financial system, of how, when money comes in, where it's being allocated, for what purpose, and really understanding financial planning to that degree. Financial planning isn't just some boring thing that you do to, make sure that you have a few bucks in your pocket. It is the allocation of resources that will allow you to expand. And that's something that's really important that I think most people have to really grasp and understand. So I'm going to go over what we call three proven strategies to build personal wealth and make sure that you can retire. These are going to be your panelists. Look at these pictures. I mean, these are beautiful pictures, for crying out loud. I can't believe how young we look in these pictures right here, but it's okay. This is sponsored by, of course, Econologics Financial Advisors. We offer what we call premier financial advice, not only for practice owners, but for associates, which is something I'll talk about later. But, for the longest time, we've worked with practice owners. We've recently started to work with providers as well internally, because I find that if providers have a really good plan for themselves on money, they know how much they need to make, they know where it's going, they're going to work just a little bit harder to make more money so that they can pay off debt, they can save for a down payment on a house, and they're really now more in like there's a good relationship between them and the owner. It isn't adversarial. We're trying to get to the same place here. We're both trying to win financially, but we'll get into that later. Okay, so for me, I've talked about this a lot over the years, but there is a point in time where you, as a PT owner, has to have a light switch that goes on. And you're going to have to realize that at some point in time, we have to take a bit of a different view on how you're looking at your relationship between your household and your business. And when you are first starting out, when you first start your practice, I know that most of your time, attention, money, whatever it is in the practice, because that's where you spend the majority of your time. And that's okay. But there has to be a point in time, and I don't really know when that is. If it's 2 years in, 3 years in, 5 years in, maybe right away, where you are looking at the fact that my household, we call it the parent company, and I need to treat this household like a business. And I need to make sure that the strategy that I have set up is ensuring that my practice profits are going to my household so that I can create other income sources. Because I think the worst thing that you can do is just rely on one income source for the rest of your life. No one wants to do that. But that is not going to happen by itself. You actually have to get a strategy and a plan in place to be able to do that. So that's the first concept, is that when you really start grasping that, it's like, yeah, you're right. I got to do something so that I don't feel like this practice is just taking every bit of energy and all my resources and everything like that. So one of the ways that I think we can start that journey in doing that, and really going into 2025, one of the things I think is most important for every owner to really understand is that by and large, I would say 95% of PT owners are underestimating the amount of money they need to bring into their practice to live the life that they want to live. And I'd probably even say it's probably closer to about 98% of owners.
I
Okay.
agree.
And why is that? And we can go through a mountain of reasons of why that is. But I think the primary reason is that you you are not looking at what I would call necessary uh, expenses and incorporating them into your make break number of your practice. Okay. Now, when I say, and what's a necessary expense? What is a necessity? Most people would think, well, payroll is a necessity, right? Most people would think that rent is a necessity. Most people would think that marketing is a necessity. Okay, great. Those are, right? You can't run your business if you don't have those, if you're not making enough money to cover those things. But what about your profits? Are those a necessity? And by and large, when I ask somebody how do they gauge their profits, they'll say, well, we look at the end of the month and see what's left over. And that's how we target what our profits are going to be. And I'm like, that is a short road to insolvency. It's a short road to insolvency. The only way you're going to have a profit, okay, is that you have to make it look like an expense. You have to treat it like an expense, like anything else that you do. And once you understand that concept and treat money differently when it comes into your organization, then I think the game changes. So the first thing that everyone needs to do is really start looking at, am I incorporating every quote unquote expense that I need? And to us, there's generally four profit accounts that we see people are not accounting for. And once you get them in place, what it's going to do, it changes what your target is. And I'll go briefly through what these are. We have a lot of other material on this, and we can do a whole webinar just on this alone. But the first, of course, is your owner compensation, the risk premium or ROI being paid back to you is the first 10% of the practice revenue should be going to you as an owner in a separate account called the wealth storage account. Okay. That's separate from your pay as a practitioner, separate as your pay as an executive. This is your owner compensation. 10% of the revenue should be going into a separate account for the benefit of you, your household, and creating other income sources. You have a tax account, obviously, so that you can have money to pay your taxes every quarter. And then, of course, work with your CPA to try to get that number down. A business savings account, so that you have at least 2 months of business savings so that you can manage better. You have buffers in the organization. If you have a bad month, of collections, it doesn't crush the organization. And then a business expansion and development account, because you have to reinvest back into the business to make sure that you have a good facility, that you have a number of other things that you would need, good equipment, whatever it is, to make it easier for your business to operate and expand. These are, to me, are the four most important accounts that most owners do not account for when they're doing their make break number. And what ends up happening is that you underestimate how much you need. And I think that is where you can really see what your deficit is once you recalibrate your numbers. And then it'll give you a target. Oh my gosh, I thought I needed 100,000. I really need 123,000. And then, you can work with someone like Nate that can say, okay, let's work backwards and say, all right, well, how many patient visits do we need to do at your reimbursement rate to get to that number? I think that's the first thing everyone should do. Know your numbers, and you have to know them cold, and they have to be correct for you guys to be able to win. So know your make break number. After that, then it gets into, all right, well, how do I then what do I do with the money? Eric, you just said I need to increase my pay by 10% of the practice revenue, which you're going to thank me later by doing that. And then what do I do with that money? Well, look, it's pretty simple. When it comes to having wealth, you have to invest. And you can't just sit there with, and I've seen this happen. People just have two, three, $400,000 just sitting in their bank accounts. And I'm like, okay, it's great. But what are you doing with it? It's great to have cash and liquidity, but we have to keep money in motion. And you need a strategy. You need an investment strategy to win. So the first action, though, is that you guys, if you want to have money to invest, you cannot leave it in your business account. You have to rip it out, physically remove it. And that's what that 10% owner compensation is designed for. It gets removed from the business, goes into a separate account, and then that money then is used for an investment strategy for your household. And we put this together for owners every single day, where we're showing them, look, your practice is a asset of your parent company, which is your household. It needs to compensate you enough in salary and profit distribution to pay for your lifestyle, your taxes, and your personal debt. And I think by and large, and Nate, I think you'd agree with me, I think it would be advisable for everyone, if they can to get their practice building at some point in time in their career. It's not always possible, but I think it'd be an advisable asset to acquire at some point in time, long-term investment strategy wise.
Well, a huge opportunity for diversifying your investments, if you will, but
Yep.
also establishing a source for wealth in the future.
Uh-huh.
It's that real estate, you're going to pay rent to yourself, and so that's going to take down the principal. That real estate more than likely is going to appreciate, and so this is a wealth building account, and you can do so much with that, whether you decide to sell your practice or not, to eventually buy other real estate opportunities and continue to diversify that real estate portfolio.
Yeah, because long term, for most of you, if you're going to sell your practice, you don't have to sell the building. You can keep the building, and it'll generate a rental income source for your household.
Right.
For infinity or however long you want to hold it on. Qualified plans, again, I know most of you guys probably have 401ks, IRAs, and I think by and large, it's a benefit for your employees. I take advantage of them. I just would not depend upon just them alone and your practice for your quote unquote retirement, which is why we want to make sure that we have a strategy of taking the revenue, 10% of the revenue out. It goes into a separate account called what we call the wealth storage account. And then from there, that money can be invested either into a traditional stock and bond portfolio. There's insurance-based products that you can utilize, or any other alternative investments in real estate. I think the point is that you want to keep money in motion. You want to keep money in places where they have a proven history of returning your money to you in some form or fashion, which real estate has done, which insurance products has done, which by and large stocks and bonds have done. Okay, where you've gotten your money back, and that's going to produce cash flow for the household, so that at the end of the day, whenever it is that you are ready to transition, you have one, two, three, four, five, six different income sources, all for the benefit of the household. And when you sell your practice, however it is that you sell it, you're not dependent on just the proceeds of the practice to satisfy your life. Okay. Look, guys, I know that there's other strategies out there to create multiple income sources. I'm not saying this is the best. I'm just telling you this is a very workable strategy, but it will not happen by itself. By and large, I think you guys need to have someone working with you that understands this strategy, that can show you how to allocate the money. And that's obviously what myself and our advisors do on a day out basis. I think another thing that's really important is checking your financial readiness across the board. Your financial life isn't just made up of your investments. You have debt, you have credit, you have taxes, asset protection, estate planning. You guys have a lot of things that you need to look at. And you're like, well, God, Eric, like I don't have time to look at all these things. Well, great news for you. We've done it for you, because we have a financial prosperity index that all you have to do is answer the questions. You can go to financialprosperityindex.com. It's a 100-question assessment, and it will give you a score akin to a credit score that will allow you to see where you stand in these areas. And then from there, you can develop a plan of what you're going to do to fix it. Okay. It's very akin to having business statistics. Where am I? What's my patient visits? What's my retention rate? What's our cancellation rate? If you can see those things, then you can fix it. If you can't see them, you're not going to be able to fix it. So this was another tool that we created that can really check your financial readiness. And I would encourage a lot of you guys, you just go to financialprosperityindex.com. It's simple, easy. It's a 100-question assessment. It will probably rock your world while you're taking it, because you're going to be like, oh my God, I don't even know what that means. But at the end of the day, you'll feel good when you see that there are things that you can do to improve. And by and large, I think a lot of people have very good wins when they take that. And then the last thing, which is going to lead into where we're going to go after Nate talks, is make sure you have a financial dream team. And what does that dream team consist of? So when I say a financial dream team, this is what I'm talking about. I see a lot of value in the fact that we understand the PT industry better than any other financial advisor out there. And I can say that with a high degree of confidence because, quite frankly, I've been dealing with PTs for the last 15 years. So I know the nomenclature. We know where your profit margins are. We know where your big expenses are. And we can take a look at your business finances and say, you got problems here, here, and here, and here. Now, that's not my job to fix that, though. My job is just to make you aware of that and to make sure that you're paying yourself correctly so that we can take care of the household financially. Which leads me to the fact that I'm going to drop down to 4. It's very, very advisable that you have a practice management consultant, some kind of coach that understands your industry, and someone that actually has done it. Someone that's done it and has been through it and knows what works and what doesn't. Okay, and has a management technology that they rely upon, but I think most importantly has done it. Okay, I see a lot of coaches out there that just say, well, I'm a coach. I was like, well, were you a PT? No. Well, I owned a car wash business, so I figure I can give coaching advice to PTs. Come on now. So let's stay in the industry. I think that's very advisable. And then obviously a good CPA and a good legal advisor would round out the financial dream team. But this to me is like you need people that you can rely upon that are going to help you, because but day to day you have a ton of things that you have to make decisions on, and that's something that we all need to make sure that we have people around us that know what the heck they're talking about. So that's what I have. These are going to be the people that we're going to be talking to for the rest of the time. Nate, I'm going to turn the ball over to you. So I'm going to stop the share right now.
Yeah. And I feel good about my presentation now because you covered a couple of the things that I'm going to cover.
Did I?
And so if I know that Eric Miller is backing me up on some of this stuff, then I have all the confidence in the world.
Oh,
It
dude,
makes me feel so good.
I got your back. No doubt.
Yeah, Eric invited me on to the webinar, and I feel, first of all, thankful, grateful that you think I have something worthy to offer and valuable to share. So thanks, Eric. I'm excited about sharing what I've learned over the years. Uh, I'll bring up my screen now. As I was putting this together, I thought, what does my journey look like? What do I really want to share with the people that are listening? And I'm just making some assumptions because the avatar that I speak to on my podcast is probably similar to the people that I'm talking to right now. And so you're a private practice owner, probably physical therapy, because that's where Eric
Mm-hmm.
was focusing his advertisements. Um, I also am a physical therapist, and back in the day, I didn't know where to turn to get support and resources. There's so much more now than when I opened up my clinics in 2002. And so I thought, what do I want to share? What have I learned that would be valuable for the people that are listening? Because I'm assuming you are like me. Maybe you have a clinic, maybe you are the sole provider. There are other providers with you, and you don't have a lot of business acumen. You're a great physical therapist. You're a high achiever. All physical therapists are, in my opinion. We are high achieving people, and we decided to open up a clinic and find out that we're a little bit underwater when it comes to the business side of things. So I wanted to share some of the things that I learned along the way. I will, let's see, share just a little bit about me. Oh, that's a good looking guy right there. He's got a bright future ahead of him. But me,
He's
like
wearing makeup right there. He's got to be wearing makeup right there.
I
Skin looks so smooth.
Oh, he's looking out into the future. There's nothing I can't do. But here's where we are, where I am. We're at ppoclub.com on multiple podcast outlets. I've been a physical therapist since the 1900s and a practice owner since 2002. I So a little bit about my journey as an owner, and I wanted to share my experience simply because I think some of people who are listening can relate, and because it's also a very typical owner's journey based on my coaching experience. And from my experience, I pray that other owners will be able to avoid the things that I had to struggle with over the years. So, opening my practice in 2002, within a few years, I had no business acumen, just a physical therapist who frankly wants to have some autonomy and make a lot more money than I could as a staff physical therapist. I'm a little bit greedy in that way, and that's okay. But a few years into practicing, I found a location in a part of town that was growing. There was an empty space, and I caught the vision. My wife said, let's do this. And I thought, man, if I could just have my own space and get to about 150 visits a week between me and another PT and some support staff, I'd be satisfied. I could treat the rest of my life. I'd be fine. Well, 2 years into it, I'm making pretty good money, but I'm already like close to burnout. I'm handling all the administrative responsibilities myself. I'm handling unhappy front desk people who are not only managing the front desk, but doing my billing as well. Not a good combination. And I was treating 50 hours a week. And I just thought if I could get someone to run the business for me and I could live my life as a physical therapist, I'd be totally happy. So, what did I do about it? Well, frankly, nothing. And then move forward 10 years later, still in the same space. I actually, well, physically, I'd moved spaces to a bigger space and I'd actually grown and even opened a second clinic. Now I'm making more money and still wishing someone would rescue me from the administrative burden that I had to look at every day. Looking back while I was making all this money, I wasn't making as much as I could have, frankly. And that's where my partner and I, Will Humphreys, look back and man, we lost hundreds of thousands of dollars because we were losing money by not tracking it appropriately, by not holding ourselves or the people accountable. I was doing everything myself between treating, hiring, HR management, marketing, property management. I'm probably cleaning the toilets when we have issues. And I've got all my administrative duties. And thus, I was a jack of all trades and a master of none. And everything was handled with mediocrity and by the seat of my pants. Even though I was providing good physical therapy by myself and the other providers around me, uh, the business side of things just kind of went along. And I was fortunate that we continued to survive. And although I was making good money, I also didn't have a life that I wanted. I had no life. I missed time with my kids. I had no time for hobbies. My vacations were interrupted by clinical emergencies, which is when all clinical emergencies tend to happen, right? I was get those calls in the middle of my vacation that the doctor had called upset about something. And frankly, I missed time with my newborn babies because I was up at 4 doing notes, out the door to the clinic at 6 or 7, and I wouldn't be home till 7 or 8 at night. And there would go days at a time where I wouldn't see my newborns awake. So that wasn't a life that I was envisioning or hoping for. And so finally, 12 years into ownership, I confronted the fact that I wasn't living the lifestyle that I wanted as an owner and that nothing was changing until I invested in myself. I had to improve myself as a business owner, and nothing was going to change until I did that. So I ended up paying a lot of money to get some coaching, someone to tell me, show me, guide me on how to organize my business, how to, and frankly, organize my life and get what I really wanted. Take real ownership of my lifestyle and not be at the mercy of the schedule of patients that I had before me. And what I really wanted was time for myself, time for my family, space to do more for my clinic and my team members, and guidance on how to grow, all while maintaining my financial income. That was a possibility. I just didn't know how to get there. And so I invested in a coach. And frankly, it's paid off for me in spades. I've had a coach now for at least a decade, some kind of coach or mentor, not always the same one. I've switched them up over the years, but those coaches have taught me how to take time for my administrative duties, where to focus my attentions during my administrative time, how to manage and grow my team, and how to manage by statistics objectively and how to plan for growth. It's paid off in spades, and the amount of money that I put into it has I've more than gotten that return. So of course, over the course of a few years of coaching, our clinics went from $1.4 million in revenue to over $4 million in revenue while I
Nice.
wasn't treating at all. I
Even
was a
better.
minor, yeah, right. I was a relatively, I can't say minor cog in the company, but I wasn't boots on the ground treating patients anymore. I was looking over reports, talking with a leadership team, and really looking at high level things and looking forward into the future at the helm of the ship, right? Instead of being down in rowing the boat, essentially, right? So I had achieved a level of freedom and wealth that I had never experienced in the previous 12 years. And 6 years ago, me and my partner sold our clinics for 3 times the market average. And since that time, I've been podcasting, coaching, and investing in real estate ever since. A path that I never foresaw during that initial opening the clinic period when I was like, oh man, if I could just treat patients all day, I'd be so happy. Never foresaw that I could actually find fulfillment outside of patient care.
Mm.
So here, I want to talk about some of the things I learned along the way, and we'll start with the first one. And these. I looked at these like, what would I tell my younger self to do, right? In the current environment of therapy, what would I tell other practice owners if I had a platform and now I have a platform to do to navigate the challenges and obstacles that they're dealing with, right? And so the first one, I want to say it's self-serving, but it's obvious to me that we all need some kind of business training by investing in yourself and hiring a coach. I I know that if I had some kind of coach or support system like a coach 10 years earlier, I would have accelerated my growth and had a totally different trajectory that would have included a lot of personal time, a lot more family time, a lot more fulfillment, and frankly, a lot more money.
Mm.
So the payoff for me has been 100 times what I put into it. When I consider the knowledge that I gained, the freedom that I achieved, the experience I had with my wife, children, my friends, and the opportunities that have opened up for me since that time, the result from that, frankly, is because I took on that mindset. I am the owner. Like if nothing's going to happen, it all starts and ends with me. If I don't fix it, create it, address it, fund it, etc., nothing's going to happen. I thought naively that I could passively sit by, treat patients, and things would naturally grow around me because I'm a great physical therapist. But until I got the understanding that I'm a business owner and finally took ownership, that's when things changed,
Mm.
right? Coaching showed me that. And the sooner I would have understood that, the better my journey would have been financially, frankly. And in order for independent private practice owners to move forward, they've got to take on that same business ownership mindset and be leaders and change agents, first in their clinics, then in the industry. The second thing I would recommend or coach myself on doing is to gain clarity on the purpose of the clinic. And Eric alluded to this as well. And that is essentially just making sure that I focus on meeting my current and future financial goals. I never took the time before opening the clinic to do a pro forma like I should have done, and I coach owners to do that now. I never took the time to see how much I needed to make in order to cover my current and future financial goals. And having that clarity can drive so much more of the decision making process. And that's a question that I would ask anyone in the current situation is, are you completely clear? Eric talked about it just a few minutes ago. Do you know how much your household needs to both support the lifestyle you want to live and save for future expenses? This number that you come up with should be a guiding light for the direction of your company.
Very
And
important number. Yeah, I can't
it is.
emphasize
I
that
mean,
enough.
yeah, I'm glad you brought it up and I'm happy to reiterate it, right? Because having this clarity can really cascade into a lot of other decisions and targets. Like directly, how much do you need to produce from
Mhm.
your clinic to meet these expectations? What size of clinic do you need? How many providers do you need? How many patients do they need to see in order to meet that goal? What size is your support team? It leads to a whole cascade of business decisions based on that one financial goal, right? And if we don't have that, we're just kind of flying by the seat of the pants and okay with whatever the bank account balance says, right? And so I'd rather see owners working from a place of intention versus randomness, right? I'd rather see you take control. And that's part of that ownership mindset, right?
Yep.
So now that you have that number, you can cast a vision of where you're taking this business, right? This is going to be a guiding principle to exactly how you want to move and grow. Step three is frankly know your numbers. Dude, I'm so glad you said some of these same things so that I'm not like out in the woods.
Nope.
But and just so you guys know, Eric and I did not pre-plan any of this stuff. We came up with this information on our own, so I'm glad we agree on some of these things. But know your financials and plan for a profit. Margins are squeezing clinic owners. And in fact, in the last year, the publicly traded physical therapy companies have dipped into single digit profit margins for the first time in decades. Right.
Terrible.
So, in order for independent owners to avoid the same fate and survive, they need to take on a profit focus. And I would have personally would have set a stronger mindset to, and this is to use Eric Miller's verbiage, is demand profit from the
There you
clinic.
go. I love it.
while commitment to while commitment to like your overall purpose of treating patients better is important, and that's imperative, and establishing values of an organization is super important, it has to be equal to the commitment that you make to the stated financial goal. So when you know your numbers and demand your clinic generate the profit that you need, that's a huge place of power that you can come from. They, like I said before, it brings the cascade of decision making forward, and you can then really run your organization powerfully. I've alluded to, or I'm sorry, I've quoted or recommended Mike McAllowitz's book, Profit First, and that ties back to what Eric was talking about, and that at a minimum, your clinic should be generating 10% of revenue for your household. It's an expense line item, and setting that aside in a wealth building account is the minimum you should be compensated for the sacrifice and work that you put into things.
Amen.
The next step, man, um, really just starting to act like an owner and build your team. I mean, in order to do the first three things, like implement all the stuff that we're talking about or the coach wants you to do, live out the purpose of the organization and focus on profit, you actually need time to do these things. There needs to be a time to maintain clarity and commitment. And I would tell myself, get out of patient care as soon as possible so you can focus on your business. It's easy for me to say that now, but the best thing you can do as a clinic owner is to have a leader, as a clinic owner, is to have a leader that is creating a vision and supporting that vision with policies, procedures, staff trainings, et cetera, to achieve the vision and the stated goals. That clarity to your higher purpose gets obfuscated by technical performance of the therapy. And your commitment to patient care can be a counterfeit to the proper end goals, which as an owner is a commitment to the business objectives first and then patient care second. And it's hard for owners to wrap their minds around that. It was hard for me to wrap my mind around that. That these years I spent working on improving my patient care comes secondary to the business. Yeah. Once you're a business owner, you've got to commit to the business.
Mhm.
That's the first and foremost. The business comes first. And if you run your business well and give it the proper attention, patient care will be better. You will be able to coach your team on how to treat patients better. They'll get better results. That will improve the community reputation that you have, which will drive more patients, and they'll refer family and friends. You'll grow more providers. So now your influence is 1,000 times instead of one-on-one with patient care. Lastly, the last thing, moved moves things around. Here we go. Lastly, simply run your clinic by objective statistics, key performance indicators, stats, you name it. Have KPIs for every position in the organization, and challenge and support your team to meet the objective goals and the desires. As I did this, this requires time. You have to have the time to like review your stats and know what your stats are. And if you don't know what your stats are, that's why you have a coach, because they tell you these are your stats that I want you to follow and track. But the results were not totally unexpected when you look at number three, but number one and two. When I run my clinic by objective statistics, our culture improved. Our motto was we took from, I think it was L. Ron Hubbard that said, production is the basis of morale,
Yep.
right? And that was one of our mottos. Like, we know when morale was low, productivity was suffering. When people are busy and producing, and our culture showed it, right? And as our statistics improved, the patient experience was better. We were tracking arrival rates and stuff like that and getting patients in more often to actually meet their plan of care, and they got better results. And lastly, of course, the higher profits. I mean,
Yes.
we made more money.
There you
So
go.
in summary, uh, like like Jordan Peterson recommended in his 12 rules for life, is the rules clean your room. Like in order to create change in your immediate environment first, you've got to place that focus on your immediate environment. Then you can work out to external factors. So you have to focus on your business first and then move out, right?
He's right.
Get some business training and coaching, claim your ownership mindset, recognize that everything starts with you, right? Really take that on, take it to heart. Clarify your goals and priorities. Know that make break number that's going to cover all your expenses and future expenses for your household, and cast a vision. What does that look like in order to achieve it? Generating profit with purpose. Know your numbers, and knowing your numbers will help you build your dream life.
Yes.
So the future of PT ownership in this world isn't just about surviving, which it could be when we're squeezed like this. It's really about thriving, right? And we really need to take the opportunity to improve our acumen, because now is the time to step into our roles as a leader by embracing and stepping into ownership, investing in yourself, and creating clarity for your future. And by doing this, we can really redefine what it means to be a PT clinic owner and lead the way to a thriving, impactful future for our profession. As we work on ourselves, as we work on our business, then we can extend that influence out into our profession.
No doubt about it. And we need to, because we need PTs in our communities, and we need you guys to continue to have thriving businesses. And, because what you do is like such a service to the community, but you have to think like a business owner if you're going to survive and expand, because that's what's going to keep the practice there. And, solvency is one of the big priorities that a lot of us have to really confront and make sure that we're keeping the solvent so that we can expand that we want to expand. So, very cool. All right. Well, I think we're going to bring everybody else on right now, Nate, and then we can, so you can hit stop share if you want to. So we're going to bring on Mark. We're going to bring on Josh, and there's Daniel. Look at them. They all look so good. So I'm going to be on the side. So if anybody has any questions, they want to ask a question, you can totally do that. I think we're going to start with Mark in terms of asking him a couple questions from a CPA perspective. And I know that there's an offer. I want to make sure that I don't know if it's something that anybody can see at this point in time. Let me see if I can do this. Talk to an expert. Well, I'll fix that as we go. But I do want to make sure that, like, if you guys have questions, if you want to connect with any one of the panelists on here, we're going to make sure that there's an offer at the end so that you can connect with them, you can talk with them, schedule a time with them, so that if you have questions that have come up in this presentation, that you get them answered. But why don't we start with Mark? Because of course we're at year end. CPAs are like they're busy people right now. So why don't we go and start with Mark? How about that?
Great. Well, thank you, gentlemen. Nathan, Eric, I love that you guys tell your practice owners that they need to know their numbers, right? That's something that we preach to, because you've got to be able to make good decisions, and you have to have good information to make those decisions. So knowing your numbers is so critical. And I'm the managing partner of a firm based in Clearwater, Florida. Name of the firm is Business Advisory and Accounting Partners, and we take a different approach with our clients, and in that we're proactive planners versus reactive, as most of my industry tends to be. And so we love your approach, Eric, and Nathan. Loved all the things that you were telling practice owners. It very much aligns with what we do.
Mark, Eric and I did an episode a couple of years ago about what to expect out of that relationship with a CPA. And so what are some of the main factors to know if I want to have a good working relationship with my CPA? What are some of the things I should expect, or what should I know?
Yeah, so there's a number of things I think that you need to think about when you're thinking about that relationship with the CPA. Number one is accessibility. Do you have access to that person? Are they responsive? And I like to frame it in this way. You think of the accountant versus advisor. And so an accountant or tax practitioner prepares tax returns. A trusted advisor uses tax returns as a verification of a plan and an opportunity to do future planning, right? An accountant may just answer clients' questions when they come up, but an advisor will anticipate the questions and answer those in advance of that person having those questions. Typically, and a lot of times people think about their tax accountant and they think that they just provide pain because here's the tax bill, here's what I owe. A trusted advisor, though, removes that pain and provides solutions to make it better or find ways to minimize taxes or be more tax efficient. And the last area that I think you should consider is when you write that check to your accountant, do you view that as an expense or is it an investment? It should be an investment. So that investment in that relationship with your trusted CPA advisor is valuable, and it's something that you want to do, and it's not something that you have to do. And so when you think about your relationship with your current accountant, what is that relationship like? Is it an accountant or is that person an advisor? And it really should be an advisor. And people look to us as CPA firms and practitioners to be there. And I frame it in such that I tell people that think of us as a board member, not somebody that's a CFO. We're not going to be in your business all day long or several times a month, but we're there for you to answer questions. We have a lot of experience with working with multiple businesses, and we can be that person that brings a different perspective and provides solutions. So
That's very cool.
yeah, when you think of that relationship, is it an advisor relationship or is it just a tax accountant relationship?
Yeah, I love that you brought it up and framed it like that, because I would love to be able to pay my money to a CPA knowing, yeah, I paid him X amount of dollars, but it paid off because I saved or planned or saved so much on my taxes, right? Because they advised me and gave me some great advice. But I shouldn't say, but I also, what I love about CPAs that I've worked with, the ones that I really like, and what I recommend my coaching clients find in their CPA is simply someone who's going to communicate with you, right?
Absolutely.
Because there's many CPAs who are not hard, that are kind of hard to find and get pinned down, aren't willing to talk to you, just want to send you the reports when you need the reports, and that's about it. One of the first things I did when when I recognized that I really needed to be a business owner is I told my CPA, frankly, I need to meet with you once a month for an hour. You need to teach me how to I don't know how to read a profit and loss statement. I don't know what a
Right.
balance sheet is. And so I need you to teach me. And gratefully, I had a CPA that was willing to do that. I had to pay him for his time, of course, but that's valuable, right? We need someone to not just advise us and help us with the reports, but teach us. I mean, we need to understand.
Yeah, and I think it's important that they can connect with you at the right level too.
Right.
Very often, and this is indicative of my profession, we tend to be back office people. We tend to be very technical, and sometimes it's hard for CPAs to communicate with a business owner in terms that they can relate to. And so, we pride ourselves on making a connection at a level where they can understand us and understand what we're trying to tell them. Tax law is not simple by any means. There's a
Right.
lot of complications to it, and we study it, but to have the ability to take that and translate that into terms that you as a business owner can understand and that we can teach you, that's very important in that relationship as well. I agree.
As we're coming into the end of the year, are there a couple tax strategies that owners need to have available or they need to know about but don't know about? Whether it's to wrap up 2024 or even to plan into 2025.
So timing in those conversations is important, and
Right.
we tend to have those conversations starting in October and through the end of the year, before the end of the year. So so we can get ahead of the various strategies. So a couple things that come to mind, especially for people in the physical therapy profession. Maximizing retirement contributions. You can do the
Mhm.
401ks, but there's some advanced strategies if you want to kind of tuck away more money or take some of that money and put it away for future. You can do defined benefit planning, profit sharing plans that are tax deductible for the business, and it's tax deferment to the individual. So those are areas that we kind of look at. And if we have people that have lots of discretionary money, we tend to kind of steer them toward that. Certainly implementing an accountable plan where you're reimbursing yourself as a business owner for things like home office, auto expenses, cell phone expenses, the things that you have that are ordinary and necessary that might be coming out of your pocket that you're not deducting as a business owner. So having all that buttoned up and defined and documented is important, because we see a lot of misses there. People don't necessarily deduct all the things they can. And so it's important that they understand it. And then, the last thing I would think of, and this one maybe requires a little bit more planning, but practitioners that have the opportunity to own real estate instead of lease, there's some advanced depreciation strategies that can be very beneficial in tax planning. You do cost segregations on the buildings and accelerate some of that deduction that you can take for that real estate asset. Or if you have equipment, certainly there's other opportunities to take bonus depreciation or Section 179 depreciation. So in effect, that's taking the cost of that purchase of the equipment or asset and deducting more of it in earlier years, or taking all of it in 1 year. So, those are things you can make a decision after the fact. We've already made purchases. We can then, before we file a tax return, choose whether or not we take that deduction now or spread it out over time. So those are the types of things that we're doing with our clients now, is planning for that. And again, knowing your numbers, making sure that everything's captured, everything's right, so that you can plan and forecast for the tax that you got to pay on the profits that you're making. And hopefully there's a lot of profits there. I love the idea of the wealth creation account and peeling money out and funding that. I do that personally, and I tell all my clients to do that. And we have a lot of common clients with the Econologics team, and I love that we're very much aligned in that strategy, because you got to have money set aside for profit, because otherwise, why are you doing it, right?
Yeah.
So love everything that you guys talk about, and again, very much aligned with the way we operate and work with our clients.
Yeah, I think the cost segregation opportunity is definitely there. And for those owners who have done really well this year, it seems like it's more appropriate in that situation. If you haven't made a significant profit this year, you're relatively new, but you also have the real estate, maybe that's not the best strategy this year. But as you grow and you do make a lot of money and have a lot of money set aside in your wealth savings account, that's a really great opportunity to save on taxes, right? In those years particularly.
Absolutely, and it's not something that has to be done in the year you buy the real estate. It can be done subsequent to purchase, so you can time that whenever it makes sense.
Right. Thank you so much. So Josh is our Econologics Financial Advisor, man. We're talking about how to save money on taxes, where to invest your money here at the end of the year with some of the retirement accounts that you have access to, especially as a business owner. Taking it a step further, what are some of the common investment mistakes that you see in people that have money set aside in the wealth savings account, that are funding their IRAs and 401ks and self-directed IRAs, et cetera? What are some common mistakes that you're seeing once they have this money?
I think, thanks for bringing me on, by the way. But yeah, I think the biggest mistake that I've seen a lot of times is people invest without an overall strategy or plan at the end of the day. A lot of times clients will come to us, hey, I got X amount over here, X amount over there. That's great. I'm glad you're being proactive. You're investing. I love it. But what was the main purpose when you first started this account? Does it fit in with your risk tolerance, your timeline, like your overall goals? Because when you invest, people love big returns. I want, the biggest return, the quickest way possible, right? But is that in alignment with the stage of investing you're at? Is that in alignment with the timeline that you have set up, the goals that you want to accomplish for your family or your business? So I think sitting down, actually crafting a plan with someone that understands, hi, I'm a business owner. Okay, well, do they understand your business? What does that mean as an asset to you in the overall portfolio? As you're taking that cash, business is risky. Do you want to throw it into another risky asset? Is there different avenues to look at for investing? So that would be one of the main ones. And then to tie into the whole planning is that they underestimate how much they need for retirement. So like, what is that ultimate number for you? If you want to maintain a certain lifestyle, you might be shocked at the number you might need. So are we planning accordingly ahead of time for that? And then because of those goals and those timeline, that's where we got to pick the right investments. So
yeah, I as you talk about risk tolerance, I think most owners would think that their business is not a risky investment, right? Because they're betting on themselves essentially and assuming they're not going to fail. And so I'm glad that you framed it that way, that, hey, what you are owning and running, it's a small business, and small business in America has a small percentage that is really successful for a long period of time. So what are you going to do to counteract that? How are you going to diversify your portfolio so that you have some things that are less risky, right?
Well, yeah, and like PT industry, be reimbursement rates, right? Every year they want to cut your
Right.
rates. So suddenly the paycheck you thought you were getting, your average reimbursement rates cut by $5. Now maybe Daniel can help us with that, maybe at the end of this call. But things that you're dealing with for this risk. I like betting on myself for sure and yourselves, but yeah, there's a lot of factors at the end of the day.
You find it often, and maybe I'm generalizing here, it's stereotypical that those physicians out there that make a lot of money tend to waste their money on risky investments.
Yeah, I
Maybe
mean,
maybe
you
I'm the only
could,
one that's
yeah.
seen that, but I don't know if do you see that in the physical therapy space as well?
Well, for sure. I think every industry has their certain people in there that want to go the extra mile, right? Crypto's had a lovely run, so everybody wants to put every dollar they have in crypto now. So things like that along the way. But I don't think you guys are by any means like an outlier or anything. So every industry does it. At the end of the day, it's just making sure that you're not trying to chase those, just those huge returns that are always there. You're not going to double your money every week, guys. I'm sorry.
What? Why not? But you work with a lot of successful PT clients, right? As a member of Econologics, and what do you see that a lot of them are having success with, either in the performance of their business or in their investment strategies?
I think the biggest thing that like me and a lot of my PTs are all in sync with is production targets, and actually communicating that with your practitioners, with your different departments, because everybody comes in, they get paid a certain amount, but unless you set the expectations of what they're supposed to do then from a production standpoint, everybody always wants to get paid more. So next year when they come for a raise and they're already underperforming, you can't then pull the magic rug out and say, well, you're not hitting your targets if that wasn't told to them ahead of time. So that could
Right.
be, what's your visits per discharge? Are you having people fulfill their treatment plan at the end of the day? What's your units per visit for each individual practitioner? Making them also input their stats has been a really successful thing, is having the
Hmm.
actual practitioners input those stats. They're responsible then. They're kind of putting it in. They might be embarrassed by the number and give them a little fire to hit the goal in at the end of the day. So it's really tracking those KPIs. I know you touched on a lot of them, but yeah, reimbursement rate, payer mix, clinic utilization, all those fun things at the end of the day. So
I'm so glad you're using some of the same terminology and you're not a physical therapist or a physical therapist owner. Like, you
yeah,
know the terminology, because I love having a quote unquote outsider say the same thing that I say, which
yeah.
is you got to know these numbers, your skilled units, your plan of care completions, these kind of things. And to the cherry on top for having them report, it reminds me of the quote, and I wonder if I have it correctly, but which is monitored and reported improves exponentially, right? And so, and I know I messed that up, but you get the
It was
idea.
clean.
But when it going from, okay, I as the leader am looking at my KPI dashboard, making sure things are going in the right direction. And if something falls off, then I go and talk to that provider. Whereas if they are reporting it up to you, they're seeing the numbers, and you can even add the expectation. Hey, if that expectation is below what is agreed upon or the standard of production, you need to give me a battle plan as to how you're going to improve it, right? Kind of that level of ownership just instills accountability and instills productivity within the group. Now, we can have a whole discussion on how to bring this to your team, because they're going to be like, well, you're all about the numbers.
Yeah, yeah.
And so you do have to, couch it appropriately and bring in values and purpose and all that stuff, and remind them of our purpose and values and how we track our statistics as a way of showing us if we're meeting our purpose and our values, right? And so I love that you bring all that information in, or remind them that it's important, especially, and that what you're seeing is in line with what I'm saying. And that is, man, the successful owners know their numbers. They use those as a guiding principle to guide their businesses, and they manage their businesses according to those numbers, objective measures, not just emotional. How are we feeling? What's the feeling in the clinic today? or looking at the bank account balance and saying, oh, I guess we're doing well this week, or oh crap, we don't have any money in the bank, so I guess we're doing poorly. That's not how to run a business. So I'm glad that you're saying that.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, Daniel, hey, we finally got around to the guy with the smartest software in the room. like like Eric said, Daniel Stewart over at Athelus is using AI and leveraging AI to significantly improve the back end systems and especially the revenue cycle management of physical therapy practices out there. But how do you see, and we're taking kind of a left turn here, but how do you see technology improving the field of physical therapy as a whole? Because you're a physical therapist, you've got experience in the field, and now you're a part of the Athelus group. You've been exposed to the technology now that you're in it, right? So where do you see how do you see technology improving the field of physical therapy?
Awesome, Nathan. I appreciate you guys being willing to have me on. Like Nathan said, as a PT myself, I had a number of years where I managed and ran a physical therapy company. So I loved listening to Eric and your presentations about profitability and what to do from a retirement perspective, right? One of the things that you talked about, Nathan, is learning how to even read a profit and loss statement. I think there's a lot of PTs out there that don't know how to do that. And one of the most important things about learning how to read a profit and loss statement is then realizing that you need more profit than you have loss, right? And
Yeah.
so we live in a industry now where technology has to be a part of our future. We have a lot of constraints when it comes to reimbursement rates, like Josh mentioned. When it comes to physical therapists coming out of school with 150 to 200K in student loan debt and expecting to see 8 patients a day and get paid 120 grand a year. And if you are not using technology to help maintain the profitability of your practice, you're soon going to go the way of what we're seeing a lot of other medical professions doing in nowadays, which is being bought up by private equity, being bought up by hospital systems, or worst case scenario, is super important because the more we can utilize AI, the more we can maintain profitability. And then that gives guys like Econologics and Mark to really know and invest in your future as a business owner. So the ways that technology is going to play the biggest impact is in systems that are manually required by insurance companies, right? So I'm talking eligibility checking, I'm talking prior authorizations, I'm talking documentation requirements, I'm talking coding requirements, I'm talking everything that it has to do with the billing, and finally sending out and collecting patient responsibility. The more that we can automate those processes via AI or other automation methods is how the profession is going to continue to thrive or go back to thriving, in my opinion.
Actually bringing in a system that doesn't require your front desk person or someone in a back office to sit on the phone for 40 minutes and get insurance verification or authorizations. You mean there's systems that will help us do that?
There's systems now that will automatically go there. There's a couple companies, ours being one of them, that just launched like an AI call center, right? Where they now can have, technology call payers to get eligibility insurance information. And oftentimes those payers don't even know that it's a technology calling them, right? So, there are game-changing technologies coming out, and having a system that interacts with all of those technologies together is super important for the future of our profession.
And when we're talking specifically about cash flow, I had Will Humphreys on the podcast just a couple days ago, and he was talking about how with AI you can establish then situations. And so when we're talking about cash flows and potentials for claims getting denied, you could say if this claim gets denied for this reason, which tends to be a very common reason for particular insurances, then and it will handle all that stuff for you instead of getting the email or the letter sitting on the biller's desk, right? When she gets to it, she'll open up and do the work if she's available then or not. Automatically, in real time, the AI will process that appeal to the denial, right? And cash flow
Yeah.
significantly improve. I think that's a great example of what you're talking about, where that would have been a manual effort before is now just simply automated and
Yeah.
significantly improves profits quickly.
And I'll even take that a step farther, Nathan. The system, as those denials come back, not only has those then statements, but then actually creates new rules on the front end to prevent that denial happening again. So
Oh,
we
nice.
should almost never see the same denial every single time if it's something that's a repeatable pattern, because the
Nice.
AI will learn from that individual denial, suggest a new rule to be built in the rules engine, and then you never see that denial again.
I think that frankly leads into the next question, which was what can partnering with a technology company like yourself, you're more than a billing company, you're a technology company first. What can partnering with a technology company like you do to improve the profitability of a practice? I think that's
Yeah.
just one example.
Just for anyone who's watching this, that the company is not personally my company, right? We to give you a little bit of background, we're based out of the Bay Area. We're evaluated at around 6 billion, and we're putting a lot of our investments into the PT space right now. We do billing for all professions. PT is near and dear to our heart because a lot of our team are physical therapists.
Mm.
And one of the things that's an issue in our industry is that you have billing companies and you have EMR companies and you have verification of benefit companies and you have sending out patient statement companies. But one of the things that's unique about our company that's different from any other company is that we consolidate all of those tools into a
Mhm.
platform that we've built ourselves. So instead of Frankensteining a bunch of third-party partners into a platform that gives you your EMR and your billing company, all of our platform, because we're a technology company, is built by the same people. And what that allows us to do is basically integrate AI into every aspect of the cycle. It also allows us to consolidate costs, right? So when companies come to me and say, "Hey, I pay." This percentage for my billing, and I pay this fee for my verification of benefits, and I pay a virtual assistant to do this for me, and I pay an
Mhm.
EMR, right? We can oftentimes, with consolidation, make more efficient your guys' processes, and that improves the bottom line of the business.
Gotcha. Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
Well, let's bring Eric back in. Eric, what I want you to think about, I've got another question for these guys, but Eric, when you come
Yeah, go
back
ahead.
in, I'm just wondering what before. Well, let me just say, think about what came up here in the talking to Mark, Josh, and Daniel that you wanted to highlight or dig a little bit deeper on. But I wanted to kind of ask the same question to Mark, if that's okay, Mark. Is like, what are some of the things that you're seeing in your physical therapy slash healthcare businesses that what are they doing? Because we asked this question of Josh and we kind of asked it of Daniel as well, but what are they doing to be more profitable than others? Are you seeing any trends?
Yeah, and I don't know that I'm recognizing anything in particular in the way of trends, relative to the physical therapy, but just in
Okay.
business owners, they're more in tune with the staffing costs
Mm.
and really trying to manage that. That's been the biggest challenge over the last several years. First, it was finding staff, and
Right.
now it's like, okay, you got to pay for the people, and how do you manage those and control those costs, and how do you get people that are qualified for your practice? That's the biggest challenge that we see, and I think it's where we see a lot of attention.
Well, that's our biggest expense, right? Percentage wise, is going to be our payroll expense, i.e., people, right? And how do we make them most productive? How do we get the most out of them? How do we find the best? How do we make them aligned, right? And so what you're saying, and I saw this as well. When I had the best people, they were the most. That's when we were most productive, right? And really running things by statistics made a huge difference, right?
Now, I love Daniel's approach. I'm a big proponent of using AI, and in my firm, we use it quite frequently. And I love that you're bringing solutions, Daniel, that are going to harness that technology. People should not be afraid of AI, right? Those that can harness it and use it to their benefit are the ones that are going to be, well ahead of their peers. So when I'm looking forward and seeing where hope people are going to go, it's toward that space.
Mhm.
If you can be more productive in getting responses on these denials, and and just even using it in general, that's where I see some big strides coming in the future. So I'm really excited about that technology, and excited to hear that you're helping or finding ways to help practice owners use it in some sort of fashion, harness that technology, because that's going to be significant.
It's really at a inflection point, like we were about what, 15, 20 years ago, Daniel, where we were going from paper notes to EMRs, right? And now we're going from not just EMR, but AI infused EMRs and all the capabilities that go along with it, right? And so there's going to be early adopters, there's going to be mid adopters, and there's going to be late adopters. We're just saying, if you're going to be a late adopter, you're playing with fire, especially with the inflationary pressures that are around right now.
Absolutely.
Do you have any questions for these guys? I've been asking these guys all kinds of questions, Eric, but what did you take from it? What more questions do you want to ask?
Well, I think I want to kind of tie it into what I want everyone to do next, which is if you see your little resources tab at the bottom, I want you guys to click that. You're going to see an offer there. By doing that, you're going to be able to connect with anyone on this panel to be able to talk to. What I'll say is this, I heard someone say once that show me your friends, I'll show you your outcome. And, when it comes to your financial readiness, when it comes to your financial expansion, whatever you want to call it, show me your financial team, and I'll show you how close or far you are away from there. And I think what we've done right here is put together a pretty awesome team of people that in any aspect that relates to your business finances or your personal finances, you need to make sure that you have a good team of people around you that are competent, that know what they're doing, that have seen it before, and can put you in the right direction with a plan and a strategy that will get you to where you want to go. And that's been the struggle that I think a lot of PT owners have, is they just kind of piecemeal this together. Maybe I get a recommendation from a friend here, or who did you use? And there's just not a cohesive team. And I think that's the biggest thing that I've seen today, is really make sure that you develop and have a good financial team. And look, at some point in time, you guys may outgrow the people that you've been working with. I've had 3 people in the last week say, you know what, CPA, he's a great guy. I hear this all the time. He's a great guy, but he's just not giving me anything other than the standard thing. And I'm like, yeah, I mean, it's time that you upgrade from where you're at right now. Same thing with their financial advisor. It's like, well, they're just not telling me anything new. They meet with me once a year and go over a portfolio review. That's it. Like, you guys need to demand more out of your financial team. So that's why I highly recommend hit that resources tab. You'll see the link for the offer right there. And you can connect with any one of us. And I would encourage you to do so, because, let's face it, the decisions that you're making right now are going to affect your next 2 to 5 years. And getting these things implemented, getting them integrated, getting them to the point where they become systematic and automatic, your life's going to be a lot easier in 5-10 years from now. It just will. So don't wait. Do something, and I promise you, you'll be better off in the long run.
Amen.
Yeah, it's probably a good place to close right there, isn't it?
Nice job, man.
I think that's it, you guys. Thanks so much for being on. Again, you guys go to the that's on watching. Go to the resources tab, click a link for the offer. You can schedule with one of us or all of us, and we would be more than happy to talk to you. Again, like I said, PTs are more important now. People are in pain mentally and physically. Okay. And there's not a lot of people out there helping them. So we need this industry to survive really well. And we need you guys to thrive really well. And I think, we have people here that can help you do that. So thanks, guys, for being on. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us, Eric. It was great.
Yeah, we'll do it again. Be well.